The story begins a long time ago. There was a young man named Angelo Lagusa, who saw his parents and younger sister being killed by his father's mafia friends for the sake of power. Seven years later, Angelo has become a teenager who now lives alone. However, that changed when a mysterious person sent him a letter. The person mentioned that he killed his family named Vincent Vanetti, who was the leader of a mafia gangster. In order to avenge his father, Angelo decides to return to his hometown and meet the only friend he trusts named Cordio. Cordio is someone who is good at brewing beer. However, due to lack of funds, the beer is not known to many people. Knowing this, Angelo invites him to take revenge and change his name to Avilio Bruno. To make it easier to take revenge, Avilio devised a strategy to enter the Vanetti family by offering his son to do beer business with them. It turned out that the mafia's son welcomed them well. Then they made a very good beer and had the potential to make a lot of money. Vanetti has several children. The eldest is Nero Vanetti, and he has a bodyguard who is always with him named Vano Clement. It turns out that Nero and Vano's names are also written in the letter sent by a mysterious person at the beginning of the story. One day, Avilio had to be nice and as if nothing had happened in front of the person who had killed his family. It was certainly difficult, but he did it anyway. However, behind it all he intends to destroy the Vanetti family. Coincidentally, at that time, Nero's younger sister, Fio Vanetti, was having a wedding with a man named Ronaldo, who belongs to the Don Glacia mafia family. The wedding was held with the aim of preventing fighting between mafia families. There are three big mafias that dominate the city, namely the Vanetti mafia family, Glacia mafia family, and the Orco mafia family. Once upon a time, a mafia leader named Vincent Vanetti appeared who was rich and had various illicit businesses which he believed would make his family prosperous, and there would be no shortage. However, what they don't realize is that there is a stalker who entered his family, Avilio, who wants revenge for his family's death. To test how strong Avilio can be into his family, Nero then gives Vano and Avilio a mission to kill Fango, where he is an executive of his rival mafia, Orco. When carrying out the action, it is fairly smooth, but because Fango is a very strong person and good at escaping, their mission has failed. For that, they only brought Fango's men who had been arrested and would be executed the next day. Right after Vano executed Fango's men, suddenly Avilio shot Vano as revenge for the death of his family. With his intelligence of reasoning, Avilio tells Nero that Fango's men managed to seize his gun and a gunfight ensues which leaves them both dead. Because it is clear that the Orco Mafia will pursue Nero as the mastermind of the action. For that, Nero will flee out of town for a while until the problem can be handled in a conducive manner. Then Avilio offered to Nero to protect him with all his might even though his life was at stake, as well as an apology for not being able to help Vano. Nero accepts it, making Avilio smile evilly because his plan has taken one step forward to then be able to enter the Vanetti Mafia family. After a week had passed on their escape, it came to a point where Nero accidentally recounted his murder 7 years ago, where it happened to the Avilio family. Worse, Nero felt innocent about the incident and Avilio was angry to hear the story. However, he is still able to hold back his vengeful emotions to enter the Vanetti family and at the same time find a way for Nero to trust him. It was later discovered that not only 3 people were in action that night, but 4 people. Hearing this, of course Avilio was made to wonder who the 4 people were. Starting from there are 2 mysteries that have not been revealed. The first, who is the sender of the message at the beginning of the story, and the second, who are the 4 people who are the masterminds of the murder. Then it came to a point where they were both attacked by a large hitman possibly sent by Orco. However, thanks to good cooperation, the hitman was defeated easily. Thanks to this, Nero is finally able to trust Avilio, and when he gets home he will include him in his mafia family. Before returning home, they stopped by a brewery that was now highly developed and profitable thanks to a recipe from Cordio. When they got home, instead of getting a welcome, they were attacked by some of their own members. Investigate. It turns out that the order was an order from Nero's own brother, who is the youngest child, named Frate Vanetti. The attack was caused because Frate was jealous of Nero, or his brother, who was always seen as reliable, and was predicted to replace his father's position as mafia leader. Frate actually got instigation from Ronaldo, who is his brother-in-law, because for the Glacia Mafia, Nero should not be allowed to be the leader of the mafia because it has the potential to be very dangerous in the future in their business, including the hitman in the past not sent by Orco, but by Frate. Avilio, who knows the fact that their family is being divided, then takes advantage of the conditions so that the two brothers kill each other. The trick is to attack Freight's group without Nero knowing, which in the end Freight considers a declaration of war between him. Then there was a war between the two brothers, in which Freight had to die by Nero, who was his older brother, so that Nero is not blamed by his father. Avilio sends a letter to Fio informing her that Freight was killed by Ronaldo, or her husband. Fio, who loved Freight so innocently, shot Ronaldo to death, and it was Avilio's revenge without getting his hands dirty. With this incident, it is clear that there will be a war between the Mafia. Then the Mafia leader, or Nero's father, gathers all the honorable councils, including Avilio, who has officially become a member of the Veneti Mafia family. Finally, Avilio could see clearly and closely the person who had killed his family. With his high commitment and focus on the goal of destroying them to the root, Avilio must hold his grudge so that all his plans go well, because if he attacked now it would be the same as killing himself. Suddenly, Ganzo appeared, who was Vincent Venetti's right-hand man and was trusted and considered like a brother. To increase his confidence, Avilio offered a solution to the Galasha family by cooperating with the sale of beer made by Cordio, so that there would be no war between the two parties, even though Avilio had planned something big behind it all. Before going into the next plan, Cordio secretly wants to help Avilio from a distance to quickly kill the Venetti family by asking the Orco Mafia for help in exchange for the recipe for his brewed beer. Instead of getting help, Cordio had to swallow disappointment when Orco's Mafia men told Venetti that he had betrayed. Cordio was annoyed and emotional, and immediately hit Fango's head with a bottle, causing him to die. It is clear that if Cordio will be sought and killed by the Venetti family, Avilio must find a way to save his only friend, because according to the Mafia Code of Ethics, betrayal is a big mistake that cannot be forgiven. However, when searching all over the area with a large army, Cordio couldn't be found at all, which made Avilio wonder if someone had been hiding him, because Avilio knew that Cordio wasn't very good at this kind of thing. It turned out to be true. Suddenly Avilio was called by Cordio, who said that he was at the house of the person who sent him the letter at the beginning of the story, and it turned out that this person was a loyal bodyguard of the Mafia itself, namely Ganzo. When asked what his interests were, Ganzo replied that for the sake of power he wanted to replace the Mafia leader. Another surprising thing was that it turned out that Ganzo was one of the people at the scene when Avilio's family was massacred. However, since Ganzo did not fire at all during the incident, Avilio would not kill him and instead cooperated in completing his revenge. Long story short, the next day Avilio went to work with the Galasha Mafia, where he also infiltrated Cordio so he could get away from the city. After a week away, of course, the business negotiations with the Mafia went very well, and they were also willing to attend the theater invitation from the Venetti Mafia as a symbol of peace from both sides. However, it turned out that after Cordio's departure there was one of the residents who saw him on the dock, so they concluded that Avilio had betrayed by helping Cordio escape from the city. When the tension began to occur where Avilio was pressed and could not dodge anymore, suddenly Cordio came back and immediately said that Avilio had nothing to do with the escape he actually showed in order to clear suspicion on Avilio. Then, to see Avilio's loyalty to their organization, Nero ordered Avilio to execute Cordio right away. It certainly makes Avilio very dilemma. However, Cordio gracefully asked Avilio to focus on his goals and let himself go. Then Cordio finally died. When his best friend left, Avilio was not sad because he actually got the strength so that his plan could be completed quickly. The day came when all the families and troops gathered to celebrate their cooperation, not to mention the corrupt officials who attended the theater. When everyone was focused on the event, that's where Avilio launched his action by killing the guard at the entrance to the Mafia leader's room. However, I don't know what happened. He was immediately caught by Venetti's troops and immediately taken to the basement for trial. It turned out that Avilio's capture was part of his plan to lure Nero out of the room so he could survive. With the help of Ganzo, Avilio immediately returned to the Mafia leader's room with a fiery heart and full of revenge. Then he immediately mentioned his real name, which instantly made Vincent Venetti think that this was the end of his life. However, the name of revenge is unpredictable and can't be delayed. Avilio didn't shoot Venetti but shot the Galasha Mafia leader with the aim of getting all the Mafia in the building to attack Venetti's Mafia forces. In this way, Avilio not only succeeded in avenging his parents, but also managed to destroy all the Venetti Mafia families. Then a big battle ensued, in which all the Venetti Mafia troops were killed without exception, including Ganzo, who was also affected. This is where their wealth, position, and power cannot help them, and death is something that cannot be bribed. let alone invited to negotiate, until the remaining Nero and Avilio survived, then decided to meet. Avilio didn't kill Nero on purpose so he could feel the loss of a family and the meaning of losing someone he loved so much. At the end of the story, Avilio is still with Nero, even though Avilio doesn't care about him anymore. However, now they are like brothers who don't know where to go and what to do next. Then when they arrived at the beach, a surprising thing happened, where suddenly Nero brandished a gun from behind, and Avilio was shot. And finally, the story in this anime is finished. What do you think about the anime we discussed? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel by activating the bell to receive notifications for the next video here.